Good morning, everyone. Happy Monday morning. I am Carol Williams with Williams Immigration, and we're back for another Monday morning edition of Beyond the Soundbite, where we talk about all things U.S. immigration. So, I like to dive right on in. The first thing I want to talk to y'all about is the Citizenship and Integration Grant Program. So, USCIS offers grant money based on applications. They offer grant money to organizations who want to use the grant money to help fund preparation programs for the citizenship application. So those programs could be group-centered tutoring to help people learn the civics portion of the exam. Helping people maybe in a group setting learn English, helping people fill out the citizenship application, those sorts of things. So if you are an organization and you would like to apply for the grant, you may do so. That grant period is now open. It is through USCIS, and it is the Citizenship and Integration Grant Program. And they fund programs nationwide. So if you're interested in that, that grant period is open. So have at it. The second thing I want to talk about this morning, also with the theme of U.S. citizenship, is that USCIS has now provided a third gender option on the citizenship form. So the third gender option is noted as an X, and it is defined as what they are saying, quote, another gender identity. So if female or male doesn't quite work for you, now on the citizenship application, you can choose X, which is defined as another gender identity. So that is live on the forms now. They are looking to roll this out on 2 more forms. So as that happens, I will be updating you all on that. So just keep that in mind. If you are filling out your citizenship application, you now have that option. The next thing I want to talk about this morning are, if you are applying for citizenship, the process used to be that in order to get your Social Security card changed, if you needed a name change, or if you needed that language taken off of it that says valid only with USCIS or DHS work authorization, you needed to actually go into the Social Security office, your local office, in order to do that. And so sometimes, going into those offices is a whole day project, or half a day at least. Understandably, they've got a lot of stakeholders, so sometimes those lines would be long and it would just take quite some time. So USCIS is trying to help us be more efficient. They are working with the Social Security office more and more. And now, starting April 1, so not too long ago, so it's still in its infancy, but we're excited to have it. Applicants for citizenship can now note on the form if they would like the Social Security agency to update their Social Security card and send them a new one without having to go into the office. So presumably you mark it on the form, on your citizenship application form. Once you're approved, that request is then automatically sent to the Social Security Administration. They do their thing, and then you should be getting a new Social Security card in the mail. So hopefully that is working smoothly. None of my clients thus far have needed to take advantage of that. So, but hopefully, once it's sort of up and running and they've got everything going smoothly, it should be a smooth process. And since this morning has really been focused on citizenship, I thought I would go through the citizenship requirements. I get calls often from individuals that say, I want to be a U.S. citizen, I'm ready to apply, but they don't meet the requirements yet. So I wanted to go over those requirements. Some are a little stickier than others for folks that I find that are calling me. So you must already be a lawful permanent resident, meaning you must already have a green card. So if you're an individual that doesn't have your green card yet, unless you have a claim to citizenship from birth that you may just not know about, then you are going to have to become a lawful permanent resident / green card holder. We use those phrases interchangeably. So the first requirement is that you must be a green card holder or lawful permanent resident of the United States. You must be 18 years old. So if you're younger than 18, then that is not going to work for immigration purposes. The citizenship applications are adjudicated and processed in the local offices, in your local USCIS office. So to that extent, your third criteria is that you must have resided in that jurisdiction of that local USCIS office for 3 months in that state when you are applying for citizenship. So if you've just moved into a new state and you've only been there for 2 weeks, then, and that puts you in a different jurisdiction for a different local USCIS office, you're going to have to wait until you've been in that office's jurisdiction for a minimum of 3 months. Now, the fourth requirement for U.S. citizenship is that you have to have continuous residency and physical presence in the United States. So this particular criteria trips up my clients that do a lot of travel. So half of the time, so if you are required to look back 5 years, so for some individuals you have to be a green card holder for 5 years, for others you only have to be a green card holder for 3 years. Whether it's 3 or 5 years, half of that time, so either half of the 3 years or half of the 5 years, you have to be physically present in the US. And so for some people, it has come down to weeks. For other people, it has come down to mere days that we are counting. And you must maintain that eligibility up until you are sworn in. So we'll get to that part in a second. So the 3-year time frame is for people that are married to a U.S. citizen. The 5-year time frame is for everybody else. So just keep that in mind. If you like to travel a lot and you're always out of the country, we're going to need to really dig into your passport, your frequent flyer points, your frequent flyer miles, your statements, to make sure that you have been physically present in the United States. The fifth criteria is that you need to show that you have good moral character. So good moral character does not mean necessarily that you have been volunteering at your local pet shelter or something like that. It means essentially that you haven't committed crimes, that there aren't things in your background that the Immigration Service would really look at and be like, we're not quite sure we want to bestow our highest benefit onto you. So if you have any sort of criminal background when you're applying for citizenship, we want to do a deep dive into the good moral character requirement. The sixth piece of the criteria that we need to show in order to become a U.S. citizen is knowledge of the English language and U.S. history and the U.S. government. So the U.S. history and the U.S. government part, the Immigration Service lumps into civics. I call it U.S. history. Doesn't really matter what you call it. But you need to have a working knowledge of U.S. history and the English language. So the Immigration Service chooses from a list of questions. It's about 50 questions. Those questions are on the USCIS website. They're in several different languages, questions and answers. So those questions are not hidden. It is not a surprise. I know in my firm, we send those questions to our clients in the beginning of the process. So just in case that you're super nervous, maybe they're just not super up on U.S. history. It gives them the entire process to study up on U.S. history and U.S. government. And the last requirement is that you must be willing to take an oath of allegiance to the United States. So those are the requirements for U.S. citizenship. And all of these requirements carry through until the actual oath ceremony. So if you, once you send in your application, sometimes they will do biometrics, sometimes they will not. It just depends on whether or not they have recent enough for them biometrics in the system that they can use. Then you'll have an interview, and that is where they look at your English knowledge and your U.S. history knowledge. If you pass the interview, then sometime later you get your oath ceremony. Sometime later could be that very same day, just depending on the workload and the office, or it could be a month or two later. So we want to make sure, especially that you maintain good moral character until you are sworn in, that you maintain your physical presence requirements until you are sworn in, that you remain resident in that jurisdiction of that local office until you are sworn in. And it's super important to note, you are not considered a United States citizen until you are sworn in as one. So if something happens between the interview and being sworn in, then you are not considered a US citizen. So that is all I have for you this beautiful Monday morning. But I thought we would do something that was a little bit different. We talked all about naturalization, whether it's the application or the requirements and the process. So if you have any questions about applying for US citizenship, you already have your green card, you're just not quite sure what the next step is, you're welcome to reach out to my office and we will get you in for a consult and get you on your way to being a US citizen. Have a lovely rest of your Monday and a great rest of